Good afternoon. My name is Eric Bautista. I'm with the LA County Public Works. I'm introducing here Kevin Brown with MV5. He'll be talking about Lidar and how the county is using the information that they bring to us. Kevin?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. So, let's see, present. There we go. All right, so I'll back it off a little bit, but yeah, so high quality LiDAR data for LA County. How is it collected? What can we do with it? A little background on me. I'm Kevin Brown, an account manager for NV5 on the data acquisition end of things. I'm out of San Diego, California. NV5's nationwide, worldwide, biggest geospatial company in the country currently. Here's a few of the things that we do. I won't run through all of that, but pretty much we do everything in the geospatial realm and engineering side. So, a little overview about what we're going to cover today. First, I'll kind of talk about what LiDAR is a little bit for those of you that aren't as familiar with it. We'll get into what point density means there, point classification, kind of talk about the workflow from acquiring the data to actually, getting a meaningful data sets out of that. Talk about the LiDAR we've collected here for LA County, and then really what you can do with that LiDAR data, some of the derivative data sets, some of the applications for these data sets, and then get into some other cool stuff we've been doing in the downtown LA area for digital twin with helicopters, even for the movie industry, but there's lots of applications there too. So, point density. Well, first, what is LiDAR? So it's light imaging, detection, and ranging. So essentially a very expensive, fancy laser rangefinder that can shoot a bunch of points to figure out, in the case of the Earth, the elevation. So for shooting, you can collect it with really many platforms. So, planes, drones, helicopters, mobile LiDAR, so mounted up on a vehicle. And point density is a major consideration. So depending on what you want to do, depends on what kind of point density you want to collect. Obviously, less points is less expensive, but you might not get great results. Sometimes super high density points you'd think would be better, but sometimes it's overkill. And, as far as data storage, from a data storage standpoint, data collection standpoint, and a cost standpoint. So, that being said, you can see here kind of, you can't really tell what we're looking at here at 2 points per square meter. 4 points per square meter, picture starts to fill in a little more. 10 points, you say, okay, maybe I'm looking at a forest. 20 points, you say, okay, those are trees. And then 40 points, you can really start to see the shape of the trees, the leaves, the canopy, all of that. So as you increase your point density, you increase the, I guess the picture that you're looking at, and being able to start to really do some cool stuff with it. So for LA County, a little background is we collected through the USGS, U.S. Geological Survey, all of the LiDAR for LA County, or LiDAR covering the entirety of LA County, which I'll talk a bit more about in a little bit. But here is kind of point classification. So the USGS base specification this is what their base spec, and then you can expand that classification as well. So you classify the point cloud, which you get when you collect the LiDAR, into class 1, processed but unclassified, class 2, bare earth ground, Class 7, low noise, Class 9, water, Class 17, bridge decks, Class 18, high noise, 20, ignored ground, 21, snow, 22, temporal exclusion. We can further expand this to do kind of high, medium, and low vegetation, buildings, classify out a lot of these other things so you can see. So really, I'll dig into this a bit more, but you can pull everything off of the bare earth and see what the bare earth surface looks like under there. So if you've heard about, some of these lost civilizations being discovered in like the Amazon, that's what they're using. So it's LiDAR, and then they pull the trees and then give you the bare earth DEM, digital elevation model. Yeah, so here's a little video. So fly over it and scan it. And then I guess I'll let the video play through a couple times while I talk through this. But yeah, fly over it, process it, and then we can do feature extraction. So we can get things like roads, bridges, buildings, vegetation like trees and shrubs, utility lines, poles, signs. A lot more than that, but that's a few things you can do there. You can get planimetric maps out of this LiDAR data. There's a ton of uses once you've collected the data. So here is so a little more on the USGS end of things. So they do what's called the 3DEP program, 3D elevation program. So the USGS has an initiative to have a accurate digital representation of the entire United States' surface. So they incentivize folks to partner up and work with their neighbors and partners like us to go collect this 3DEP LiDAR data, and they will match up to 50% funding. So every year they put out what's now called a DCA. I think it's Digital Collaborative Agreement. They switched the acronym on us, but what we did here in 2023 was collect the LiDAR for all, 6,419 square miles of LA County, including Catalina, including the Channel Islands. And this slide, so I think for the round one, it's just the USGS base spec products, by the way, but there is a lot more stuff we will be getting into and helping the county with as far as extracting features from this data and doing some analysis to be determined on really the full scope of that. But some of the things we can do, vegetation analysis, so you can, differentiate species, figure out where your different species of trees are. We can look at tree canopy health. There's many different things we can do with this, and I'll dig into some more of those in a few slides. So, some of the surface models. So all of these derived models are algorithms, but can provide a simple output, and you can do it yourself. Or, since if you're working with somebody like us on this, or, the other folks that do this, it's easy for us to generate all of these derivative data sets. So you can do things like stream network mapping, vegetation mapping, stream delineation, and I'll walk you through some of the examples of what some of these are here. So starting at the top left, that's a digital elevation model, or DEM. It's a representation of the bare Earth surface. Next one over, DSM, digital surface model. It contains the elevation of the ground as well as all the above ground features. So, things like buildings, vegetation, towers, other infrastructure. Next over, normalized DSM is just really shows the height of features relative to the surface model rather than relative to mean sea level. You can get a slope layer, aspect layer, which is broken into eastness and northness, topographic position index, which builds a neighboring context to each cell. Basically, is it higher or lower than the cells around it? Topographic openness, so you can see how enclosed or exposed it is to the relative landscape around it. And then geomorphons is the last one. It's a categorical representation of terrain features like peaks, pits, slopes, ridges, valleys. Yeah, so let's move on over here. Let's see how we're doing on time, too. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we talked about those surface models, and then I'll go into detail on what we can do with these derived products. So you can see some of the potential applications here. Quite a few uses that are, bless you, relative to, or very helpful for the problems and challenges that we face, especially out in California and the West today. So here's a few things we can do with it. Vegetation management, benthic mapping, so kind of benthic habitat mapping, airport obstruction analysis, biomass, so maybe for like forestry companies or firefighters. We can do things like species classification, look at erosion and sedimentation. If we have, multiple data sets over multiple years, we can then do change detection, growth detection. We can classify land cover, and I won't dig into this here, but we're doing a lot of cool stuff with like California DWR and all of these water districts around the state to classify irrigable areas to help them meet water conservation targets. If you want to learn more about that, come talk to me. Yeah, and then I definitely wanted to talk about this as well. So out of our Hawthorne hangar over here is a company that NV5 acquired called GO1. Now we're all under one NV5 umbrella. They get to do what I say is all the cool stuff. So they collect mostly with helicopters. This particular, the next few slides I'm going to show you, we collected for a VFX team for a major film, which they wouldn't even tell me which one it is, so I obviously can't tell you guys either, but we're not allowed to, even if I did know. Maybe, honestly, who knows? So basically we co-own this data with the studio, so we can license this data out. It's downtown LA and right near here, but I don't think it covers this park. I was hoping it did, but it's very close. So yeah, we collected this at 300 points per square meter, and imagery is what co-acquired imagery at 3 to 5 centimeter resolution. 3 to 5 centimeter resolution, and we didn't do any ground control accuracy because 6 inches was good enough for this application. And I did learn that 300 points per square meter was overkill in this case and created a lot of extra noise and processing time. So. Yeah, sometimes more is not better, but in the end, it generated a really cool product. So we had our enterprise architect dropped this model into an Esri application, brought in I think OpenStreetMap 3D layer. That's all the blue buildings surrounding the model here, and. Oh, is it? Nice, thanks. Yeah, good to know, and I appreciate that. Okay, that's awesome, and it's a very clean data set, so nice job. And then this graphic here shows an integration of basically between 4 databases. So the base layer, Lidar, LA County's buildings layer, and the 3D mesh. And then once we have reality capture, you can add all kinds of other layers of data. Okay, perfect. And then really start simulating events and then really have your digital twin come to life. So we also did end up acquiring 360 imagery. We have another viewer where you can kind of click any area and pull up the 360 imagery from the street level. And then I'll leave you with this. Here's a little 3D video of kind of the final product of what came out of that. So. It'll come. This is just, there we go. Yeah. I need a copy without that logo in there. Pretty cool, right? It depends. You know, it really it depends on, yeah, I guess, density of the LiDAR we're collecting, the size of the area, what other sensors we're incorporating. So for collecting imagery as well as LiDAR. Yeah, if you want to talk more about like a specific project, I'm happy to talk that through with you. But yeah, any other questions?
Yeah, so with the three digital model that you have there, are the buildings or any of the features selectable?
Oh yeah,
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 and you can click on it and add attributes and information.
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Anyone else?
So I saw that species identification was something that LiDAR can do. I mean, for example, would you be able to find out where all the oak trees are?
Yes, and we don't we could potentially do that with just imagery as well. And if you really need to get deep into differentiating a lot of species, we can even do hyperspectral, which is most of the time cost prohibitive. But you know, there are certain cases where it makes sense. But yeah, if you're just looking to pull out oak trees, yeah, we can absolutely do that. And maybe even with just 3 or 4 band imagery too for that. We do a lot of stuff there with machine learning too. Oh, that's all I had.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk more about that, like, in terms of hyperspectral. So to do those health classifications, you must be doing what, 4 bands or something. So what band? How do you get the different bands? Like different lasers, or
So like 4 band imagery would be like RGB and near infrared, and then hyperspectral. I'm not a hyperspectral expert, but my understanding of it is you really, going into it, need to know really specifically what species you're looking for so they know how to set up the sensor to know what bands to specifically look at there. Mark?
If I was interested, sorry, can I download this data myself?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, no.
Yeah, USGS.
Oh yes, LiDAR-wise, yes, you can. So once that's released, and this goes for the entire country. Why am I blanking on that? It's not C-Sketch, but if you just look for, do you remember the link? Where they put it out? But anyway, USGS puts out all of this LiDAR data sets, all these LiDAR data sets for the public for free, with the base classification. So yeah, you can, and then go pull like all the, kind of surface models too. So like DEMs, DSMs, that sort of thing. So it's very helpful, and they're doing a great service for a lot of important work in the country. Thank you.
Kevin Brown from MV5.